work session of the Trinidad Tourism Board, Wednesday, May the 27th at 9:05. I'm going to take roll, Marty.
Ms. Campbell? Here. Mr. Kress?
Here.
Ms. Luttrell? Here. Mr. Zeitchis? And Ms. Michaels? Here.
The items for discussion today will be photo contest winners. We'll take care of that first, Marty.
Okay, so the winners in the professional category were Blues at Central Park. The amateur winners were View from the Rest was number 1. View West on Commercial Street was second place. And golf course hole number 8 was third place. So I will go ahead and notify those winners and request a purchase order, I think is what I have to do from Cheryl to get checks for those winners. And then did you want me to put an ad or announcement in the newspaper about that, or just contact them?
I think that would be good.
I'd like to see it in the newspaper. I think they would probably appreciate it, especially because they waited so long. So I would say yes, we should do the paper as well.
I agree. With the winning papers?
I would agree, even getting a little story on the artist or something, you know, just so it's the whole story in the newspaper.
I think also
I finally got on.
Okay, I see you. Okay, so maybe I can do a feature article instead of an ad, and that might cut some costs on that.
There you go. That sounds good.
That would be great.
Okay, so we can move on to the next item, which is the financial review.
So included in your packet, I included the budget report from 2019. That's the first sheet. The second sheet is the budget review and budget revenue and expenditures. And previously, when I provided these to you, you had requested that I include all the activity to date, the encumbrances, and the actual balance. So as of 2 weeks ago, this is what it all looked like, and I included all the line items for you to review. The only thing of note was under advertising and publications under the tourism portion. And as you'll see, we are $11,326.02 over on that budget. One of the questions that I had for Cheryl, and maybe Mayor, you might be able to answer this. The budget was set for 2020 at $325,000. Since our lodging taxes are proposed to be lower, do we still operate at the budget that's set, or should we be looking at what our actual lodging taxes are as they're being received?
I think the best thing to do, and you can deal with Mike on this as well, but you can't operate on your actual budget or your budget that you had agreed upon. I think you need to go through your budget again and see what the possibilities of the amount of reduction of revenue that you guys will receive, or you might receive through the year, and you're going to have to be careful with that, because you can't go off of what you estimated at, because it's going to be lower. So you're going to have to kind of go back and kind of redo your budget and get some cost estimates as to what your revenues might be, and operate off of that.
One of my thoughts was, I would like to have seen the first quarter that we did get in revenue from the taxes. Were you able to get that, Marty?
Go ahead, son.
Well, that was a question that I had too. So, since the budget report concept is for fiscal 2019 period ending 12/31/2019, is the period activity for lodging tax current in the city, is their fiscal year end in September? And if it does that $76,000, is that like, November and January tourism tax paid in, that's 76? I was trying to think of the same thing, Tom. So
Yeah,
the period activity, I'm thinking 76.
What I would like to do is, I would like to see, like you say, if our fiscal year ends in September, that money there and the first quarter of the year, and then we base our budget on those two quarters, especially the first quarter of the year, which is going to be lower.
I provided
And then
those.
we just have to cut budget.
At the last
Go ahead,
meeting,
I'm sorry.
I provided the financials for the first quarter of 2020. Those were given to you in the last meeting. So let me see.
So Marty, that 76,000 does include that first quarter. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So then I think going forward, we should base our budget, because they are going to be lower for the rest of the year, then everything would be lowered in the budget. And I think the lowest thing that we're going to have is the grant funding. We're going to write off a lot of the grant funding because because of these functions that are canceling. That money's not there, and we're not going to be given that money to, say, the Blues Fest. What's the other one that canceled out?
Festival would be the other one.
Yeah, so all of that money, that would significantly lower the money for the grants. And as far as the advertising and that, we would have to cut back on all of that. So that's my thought on it.
So
Marty, a recommendation for you guys. Like I said, you know what your figures were if your fiscal year was September. So you have figures for September, and you now should have, if you don't have, you can get a hold of Cheryl. She'll give you the figures for the first quarter of 2020. And then do an estimated budget. And Tom, you're right on as far as taking a real close look at the revenues, or what revenues might estimate for the next two quarters, which is the year third and fourth quarters. And then actually take a look at any of those cancellations that you guys have. And you might even want to look at do you have any idea of who's coming forward for any additional funding for the next 6 months? And you might want to consider whether you even want to fund those at this point in time, because you don't know what your third and fourth quarter revenues are going to be. So you're going to have to be very conservative with your funding, so that you can maybe start having some, if at all possible, to salvage some money to begin your first quarter that would start, September or October of this year.
One of the examples we have, Phil, is the Fox Theater. They came with an initial budget that was pretty high, and they cut their second. They did a rebudget, and they were asking for a lot lower amount of money. And even in a sense like that, I would like to wait on the Fox Theater, because we can have a special meeting anytime. And the way we got to look at a lot of these grants is, it's okay for them to pay if they have advertising and they're going to go on in advertising, and we have a special meeting down the road, and then distribute money to them so they can pick up that tab or a portion of it, depending on what our revenues are. So I think we really got to be sure as to who we're giving money to and make sure that, everything is in place, like in that sense.
Now, Tom, who on the Fox Theater, the fund that what they were requesting, what was the request what was the purpose?
It was the purpose for, basically, we can only give money for advertising. So basically, they were asking for 25,000. Is that right, Marty? The initial grant form. I'll have to scroll on mine. Is that right?
It's actually, we could discuss that under grants, if you like, because that material is in that section. So the original grant and the revised grant are both in the packet. Or not in the packet, I just sent it to you.
It's just an example as to, how they've cut their budget significantly and, or their request was cut significantly. Is just what I'm saying is we may not be able to give them or give any organization all the money that they're asking, but maybe us, by being part of it, give us a portion of it, because we have to watch our budget through all the way into September.
I think the other thing that you guys can look at is prioritize anybody who is asking for funds. Prioritize which is going to give you guys the big bang for the buck. So when we get to the grants, I could probably fill you in a little more information on the Fox Theater, because we did have a discussion with them last night on their lease and the development agreement and some other information. So when we get to that portion, I can fill you guys in.
So getting back to the financial report, for 2020, the city thus far has received $46,637 for the first quarter. And two properties, last I spoke with Cheryl, had yet to report or remit their payment. But in comparison, the city received $61,141 in the quarter of 2019, the first quarter. So we're down, about 15,000 for the first quarter. And we should bring about 8,000 with those two properties that hadn't come in yet. So we shouldn't be too short for our first quarter, maybe about $7,000.
I just want to remind everybody with that, thanks Marty, I just want to remind everybody with that the coronavirus did not hit Colorado and our area for the last week in March, so that would not really reflect clearly on what's going on in the hotels for this next quarter.
Right. So the projected loss for the second quarter is expected to be about 71% for lodging taxes.
So
that's projected.
If I could, I just back to the budget and where we're over on the advertising. Sorry, the phone's ringing. I apologize. If we do take a look at the budget and we go back and we kind of figure things, can we make sure that we're covered on that 11,000 first? That's our first goal, and then from there,
I agree with you.
Start to make decisions. I think that if we're at a debt or if we owe somewhere in that budget, that should be the first thing that we amend before we move forward with any decisions on grants and any decisions on even further advertising anymore and renewing contracts. I know that's probably going to be coming up this summer as far as getting ready for 2021. But I just wanted to make sure that that's something I notice, is that if we are under, we need to take care of that first and foremost.
I agree with you. I think we need to balance this budget right now and move the money to clarify and clear the balance of the 11,000.
Amanda, you're spot on. I just wanted to make one comment that the big caveat here is we don't know if we are going to have a second wave of this coronavirus. So you're going to have to kind of think about that moving forward as to how it's going to impact, for 2021. So, Amanda, I think you're spot on.
Camilla, you have anything to say on that?
No, I totally agree. We need to cover. We gotta hold off on everything. My personal opinion. We gotta wait and see. Waiting game.
And so what would that look like if we wanted to as my first year, I don't really know what the budget process looks like. I know we usually probably wait until September to make the next year's budget. So what are our options for reevaluating 2020 budget based on what we have currently? Is that a meeting? Is that a special meeting? Is that
I would recommend probably a special work session, and I would get Cheryl with you as well as Mike to give you some advice on that, because they could probably maybe give you some projections.
One of the things, Phil, is the city of Trinidad has in the past, I think that was 2 or 3 years that they matched us with the operation of the Welcome Center. That's one of my biggest concern is going forward for 2021, that if the city is going to continue their portion of with the Welcome Center, because that's pretty crucial to this budget is the help from the city.
You might check with Mike on that, and as far as going into 2021, our budget process will begin probably sometime in either late July or early August, and of course we will have some work sessions on it going into October, November for finalizing in first part of December as to what kind of we're going to have to consider that seriously, because I'm sure we want to try to keep the Welcome Center, moving and going, because if something does happen that we don't have that second wave, that we're able to operate in 2021, it's going to be critical to consider that.
Okay, thank you. Sai, you have any questions on that?
No, we have to watch our budget tightly, and I agree with whatever everybody's saying. I agree.
One item of note, the tourism board can only request a one-time change to the budget. So when we do meet with Mike and Cheryl to reassess the budget, we can only make that change once for 2020.
And that change right now that what we're looking at is that one change is to move money to clear the balance of the advertising and publications. Is that right?
No, that can be addressed during that change, yes. But that's not what you need to do. When we reassess the budget on the whole, not just each line item, but on the whole, so that we have an operating budget overall.
Can we rearrange this, the deficit that we got for advertising publications, and because we don't have anything on outdoor contract services. We haven't spent anything on that, right? Can we move stuff around like that and not have to worry about a major change right now?
Yes, you can.
Because we could have a work session to redo our budget, but for the $11,000, can we move outside contracts a little bit around to clear out that $11,000? So, I don't see it a big deal being negative 11,000 because there is money there, so we could move things. We don't have to move anything. We could just move money from one column to the next.
Right. Without making a budget change.
Right. without
You know,
making a budget change, yes.
You know, Camilla, that's probably the best avenue, and I would recommend that, Marty, that you go and talk with, Cheryl and sit down with her and take your figures and see what her thoughts are on that, and just, the best way to move that money around. You might have to do that through, some of your meetings, and, see what her recommendations are, because she would be able to help you, and maybe you don't have to you may not have to redo your entire budget. It would make it
You don't have to.
lot easier and a lot
Outside contracts, there's $99,000 and we haven't spent any of it. We could just chip some down into that lower column.
We did the same thing last year.
Yes.
We spent in our advertising and publications.
Right.
We just moved money around on paper, so that we readjusted our numbers on paper, but we didn't have to reassess the entire budget because we weren't over budget. We were just over on one line item, so we moved money from one line item into another to cover that deficit, and then in the end it balanced out. But we don't have to
We're not over budget. We're not over budget.
No.
We still have our budget. We're just over on one line item. And if we
No,
want
it's- Marty, go ahead.
But
If you
what
could-
we need to do is we need to sit down and we need to redo the budget based on the proposed loss of lodging taxes for the next 2 quarters.
I agree.
Marty, if I can remember, I think we were over on advertising and publications for 2018, right? Also?
2009.
2019, so I think that's something that we're gonna have to look at to either opting, to make sure that that line item does stay within its budgeted amount without,
Right.
with
For
us
2021.
not having that.
When you're setting that budget for 2021, we can look back historically what's been spent and readjust that line item.
I think that needs to be done on that line item right there. Okay,
Just to going down on the.
Hello, can you hear me?
Is that Scott?
Yeah, I've been here for the whole meeting. I could hear everybody, but nobody could hear me.
Oh, hey, sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm just happy to be connected. So carry on.
So going down through the Welcome Center expenses, couple of things that were noted is that I made suggestions to city manager that we could cancel our contract. I'm not sure how it's written, but if we could cancel our cleaning contract here at the Welcome Center, that would save us a little bit of money for the remainder of the year. I also asked him if we could cancel our trash service, which would come out of our maintenance line item, and we don't generate that much trash. In fact, most of the trash that we do have here is from travelers and locals that use that dumpster. So I also suggested to him that we could eliminate that dumpster and maybe eliminate that cost. We're not serving any coffee or condiments during this time, so that line item will be significantly reduced. Our clothing allowance is not being used, so there's an extra $400 there. I don't anticipate doing any training, travel, or mileage, so there's another $3,000 there. There's a $298 encumbrance on that line. That was for a spring managers meeting that was actually canceled. So that money will go back into the bucket and we're back at $3,000. But there's another $3,000 that I don't anticipate using this year either. So the total expenses for the Welcome Center will be reduced significantly.
and if we go on down to the trolley, we're probably not gonna be spending that much money on fuel either, right? That's,
Fuel or wages. Since we won't have a trolley season, we don't need a driver. I know Rich has done a little bit of driving here and there to get the trolley repairs made. And other than that, I don't anticipate any expenses in the trolley area either. So just minimal charges. There won't be, the gasoline will be down significantly. We'll still have the storage costs. And then we did incur an expense with the repairs that we made to the trolley, which weren't at all significant. I haven't received the invoice yet, but all he did was actually inflate the airbags on it, and so that shouldn't be much of an expense at all. So our trolley lines should be way down as well. So there are some areas where we have definitely cut some costs.
Is it reasonable to ask for a summary of all of these items that you just identified, so that we can kind of see on a sheet of paper what a summary balance or budget looks like with those adjustments?
I also think when we do our budget, we could recalculate that too in there. When we have our meeting for our budget, we could do that.
Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome.
Anything else on the budget, on the financial review? So out of the financial review, we're going to get with Ms. Navarette, and we're going to have her ways of, or to clear the $11,000 balance to balance that out, right, Marty?
Right, so did you want me to call Cheryl and set up a meeting between you and I and Cheryl then, and maybe invite the city manager as well to sit on that so we could work out some numbers?
Yes.
Okay. Can we do that, Mayor? Can we actually sit down with Cheryl in office, or do we have to do a call-in, or?
Because there'll be probably four of you.
Yes.
You might be able to do that in the conference room. I would check with Mike to see what you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
You can either do it there, and if not, you guys probably maybe even spread out with tables, maybe in the so it might be manageable.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have anything on the financial review?
Nope, all clear here.
Okay, we'll move on to the grant application, applicant event status. Marty, if you want to give us that.
What I printed out for you in your packets is the grant applicants for the first quarter. You'll see 7 applicants, and so we'll start with the Los Animas County Fair Board. They wanted funding for the county fair. I talked to a representative there. They are saying that they are still moving forward with the county fair, and they have requested $4,000. Their event date is in the end of July, the beginning of August. It was John Terry that I spoke to, by the way. So they are saying that they are going to be moving forward with the county fair. I don't know what the health department stance is on that. I haven't got anything official from that area. The A.R. Mitchell, her event is the Sacred Art exhibit. I spoke to Allison. She's already setting the exhibit, and when she gets the go-ahead from, again, the health department and the state, she'd like to get that opened up. She's requesting $6,000. Her event was slated for April 13th, but she said whenever she gets the go-ahead is when she's going to open the doors, and the event is already set. Or the hangings, the presentation is already ready to go. Trinidadio, as you all know, has been canceled. The Branson High-Low Gravel Grinder, the bike ride in Branson and that area. I talked to Christine Loudon. She said she's still a go. She's had to make some adjustments on how the race or the ride is being conducted. But she said she's moving forward with that. It's slated for September, and she's asking for $700. I'm going to skip the Fox Theater because we have actually a new grant form for that, and go to Artocade. I spoke with Rodney. He's on hold. He's kind of a wait and see what's going to happen. His event is not until September, the second weekend of September, and he thinks he will know by probably mid-June or July whether or not he can go forward with that. They had asked for $10,000. Farmers Market, it's, as you all know what that is, they are slated to open June 13th. That announcement was made public, probably a week ago, and they requested $1,500. I tried to reach Joyce, but I didn't get in touch with her. I just heard through her Facebook, the Farmers Market Facebook, that she is slated to open June 13th. Don't know if she's got the go-ahead from the health department. From what I understand, she's allowed to only have food vendors, which would make her an essential service. And I think that's why she got the okay to go forward. Now, the Fox West Theater, we can address after we address these others. Were there any questions, or did you want to take them one by one and decide whether or not you want to move forward with grant funding? Or is that something you want on the regular meeting agenda?
Hey Marty, just a question. Aside from the Fox Theater, what is the total amount request? I think as a total amount, your members might want to know what that is.
22,200.
So that would be a figure, you guys, that would be a figure you got without the Fox Theater. So that way it would give all your members there an idea as to whether you guys can budget that in for this year or not. To help.
It's 22,200 is I think what I got.
Okay.
Without the Fox, Tom?
Without the Fox. And this basically is for the first go around. Is that right, Marty?
Yes, these are the grant applicants for the first quarter.
Okay. Have you had anybody request anything down the road past September?
No, we don't have any outstanding grant applications.
Okay.
Because of your budget responsibility shortfall, I mean, you might want to even consider possibly maybe not even taking grants for that third and fourth quarter. So that would be something that maybe you guys could consider.
I have a question though. Last year on Artocade, we did not grant any money to Artocade per se. We did the museum, right?
Right.
So they're asking for Artocade, but we went to the museum.
It's Art Cartopia and Artocade. It's one and the same.
Okay.
They're operating under both. I listed it as Artocade, but it's Artocade / Art Cartopia.
Okay.
I think we really do need to be careful, and like Mayor Phil said, to just stay conservative with the amount of money that we're willing to spend on these budgets. I personally don't think that we're going to see a fair at the end of July this year. I just don't see that that is ideal for our situation. I think allowing people into the Mitchell is far more of a reasonable expenditure, or it's more of a reasonable thing that we can get behind and support, because we do know that that is something that, with safe practicing and distancing, is something that could become available to the public. And if we have visitors that are coming here regardless, it might be something that they have access to. I don't see any large summer events happening, and I think people are really understanding of the times. I would hope they're more understanding of the times right now. You know, it's I don't ever want to become irrelevant as the tourism board, or become something that people think that we're not supportive of the community. but we really do have to be careful with what we've got right now in order to take us into next year and make next year more successful and try and build back from what we've lost already this year. So I don't really have any, I'm not really for any of the grants. Personally, I don't think that we are going to benefit from it, especially certain things that are just not really going to happen, I don't think, so.
I have one thought. The event that has the highest probability of actually happening would probably be Artocade, because it's in the latter part of the summer. Depending as to how the summer goes with any positive coronavirus people that we have locally here, and depending what the health department says, that would probably be the highest probability of any event possibly happening.
Well, I'm going to go along with Amanda. I don't see Artocade happening in September. I don't see any big events happening at all. And throughout many states, all bigger events like that has already been canceled. So, to be fair to everybody, I think we should hold off until next year.
I don't have a problem helping any of these organizations, but everything has to be in place for it to be right. We have to be okay with the health department that it is going to happen, but before we release any money to any of these organizations, we have to make sure that we have our budget set right for going down the road. We have to make sure that we set a new budget for grants. A lot of these people aren't going to get the money that they're asking for, the full amount of money that they're asking for, because our budget's going to be cut. So it's going to be a portion of that. So that's my feeling. Sai, do you have anything on that?
Well, I do think one of the things is we really don't know what, I don't know if I would just say no to these grants. What I would say is let's put it off for one more month before we make a decision based on what happens. Just like before Corona, we really don't know what's going to happen afterwards. But I am quite compassionate about our community and being the cheerleaders for our community to have things forward. So I would like to ask, what is the money that we have in reserve?
I don't have that figure, Sai. I can get it.
Yeah. So there usually is an amount in reserves, and usually, I'm not saying there is, it's somewhere around $100,000. And of course, we can't bleed that dry in any way, shape, or form. But I would, if things start opening in a month, I would cheerlead a few of these things on just to give the community that support. And so I agree with everything everybody's saying. I'd like to know the money in reserves. And I'd like to not turn these down, just say we're going to put them off for a month so we can see what happens in the city of Trinidad and see what happens with the hotels. And, because of me running a hotel, we might have a better influx of knowing how the hotels are sitting in 1 month than they are sitting today. But I agree with the mayor, too. We don't know what's going to happen in the fall about it surviving or resurrecting itself, the virus. So, my suggestion would just to be put it off for a month and to see the money that we have in reserves and see what's going on with the hotels before we just tell everybody no.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sai.
Hey, Tom,
Tom, can I be heard?
Just a second. Go ahead, Phil.
I just wanted to say on the reserve, just check to make sure that you don't have to maintain a certain amount of reserve.
Okay. I feel like if us not touching the reserve and us setting a new budget, we work on that. We work on what we have and not what we have in reserve. That would be my feeling on that. Scott, go ahead.
Yes, I certainly concur with all of the board members of what has been brought forward. We want to keep an eye on if things start to open up, we want to be there with some small events that are, as was spoken, that are ready to go, so that we start to send a message to the community and the tourists that, hey, we are open. It's okay to come out. That's the message at that time. And along with what Sai said, if there's an opportunity to, fund one of these, we can go off schedule and hold a meeting, even if we do it as we're doing today electronically. I fully support the idea to postpone things, as Sai suggested, with the ability to, hey, as a restaurateur in one of and the health department has just allowed us now to open up with some outdoor seating. So things are starting to open up a little bit. Once that momentum kicks, then we as a board should collectively be ready to kind of jump forward and support some of these, as was indicated, that are ready to go.
I agree with you. I think we have that opportunity if someone comes up or one of these applicants do move forward with that. We do have that advantage of having a meeting to distribute the money to them. It's just the process of when they do get the checks, how that process is involved in that, and them in us dispersing the funds to them. That's the thing that takes.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything on that subject? Oh, Marty, did you want to bring up the one of the Fox Theater?
So I sent in for your review the revised application. Just things that you would know, that you could note, would be that their projected advertising budget was originally $25,000. The revised budget is $15,000, and the reason behind that, according to Chris Smith and Chris Cipoletti, who are board members for the Trinidad Fox Alliance, that they are proposing a virtual event rather than an actual live event. One of the questions I had was, and I teamed it up with an explanation, was that the tourism board operates or generates a budget by heads and beds. So the lodging taxes are what funds the tourism board. And so my question to him was, if it's a virtual event, how would that generate heads and beds? So how would the tourism board recoup any funding from a virtual event versus a live event? If people are not coming to town to attend an event, how would that generate lodging taxes? And he said that he felt that it still would, but I didn't quite understand how. So they reduced their budget significantly by $10,000, and the amount requested was originally $15,000, and they reduced their ask to $2,500. So those are the main points of the revised application.
Anybody have any questions on that? I'll start with Scott. Do you have anything to say? Can you hear me, Scott?
Yes, I got you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. As the question was asked, whether or not there's additional funding there, or where that revenue source is coming from, I don't understand that portion. So at this point, no questions on it.
Maybe Phil could fill us in on that. You said that they had come in front of the city council, or?
Last night, we had a work session ourselves, and Dana and Stephanie and Chris Cipoletti were all on, and we're talking, because what we're in the process right now is working on their development agreement and the actual lease of the building to them under their alliance group that they're going to do. So that's where we're at there. And of course, there's as we know that they had put off their that one with that symphony, that event, and of course Marty just alluded that they're going to do that on virtual. And my big question was, like I said, is the marketing aspect of it for your dollars that it's being worth. Now, is this could you consider this an investment into? I know the question was whether it puts heads and beds in this now, or is this something that would create some funding down the road where they would bring in some people with heads and beds, or with heads and beds at that point in time. So that would be a consideration that you guys are going to have to talk about. They're just beginning the whole process. They've got quite a ways to go, but I think there's some real good possibilities of them being able to achieve their goals. So they're going to need all the help that they can get. So that's just going to have to be a consideration as to, if you guys want to fund that or not.
Camilla, do you have anything to say on that?
We don't. We'll just wait and see.
Amanda?
Well, I certainly agree with Marty in the fact, of asking about the heads and beds, especially during the circumstances that we have right now. It's a question of if we want some immediate funding or, heads and beds right now, or if we're willing to wait to see if this is something that's going to provide that for our community. I'm personally so excited to see the Fox Theater back in action. I can't wait for it to be a venue that we can look forward to concerts and events within our town. So I don't really have any questions. My question, I guess, is how can you be sure that the heads and beds is going to be, how can you be sure that we are going to benefit from this? And overall, make sure that the city is going to benefit from this. Or if we hold off and we wait until they have another event, but if we don't sponsor this one right now, will they be able to have another event? Those are my thoughts out loud.
Okay, Sty, do you have anything on that?
I would say I agree with everybody. We don't have the money at this point on this meeting to make that decision. However, if I wanted to play devil's advocate, so that everybody always looks at all different sides, I could say the point that anytime we put an ad together that we talk about our architecture and our outdoor sports and all that, we're not guaranteed we have heads and beds on those paper ads that we put out, and that advertising the city of Trinidad and something glorious like the Fox Theater for a reasonable cost with us having money may not be a bad buy-in, because we're still putting Trinidad's name out there and the architecture that Trinidad's starting to be more well known for out there. At this time, we can't make any of those decisions, but from a devil's advocate point of view, every time we just do, without focusing on any one thing, but we advertise the city of Trinidad, we're drawing people to come to Trinidad to stay heads and beds. And that would be the devil's advocate argument, just so that we're clarified, or I feel like I have to say that. But we can't make that decision based on our budget right now. But in the future, when we think about how we advertise Trinidad for reasonable amounts and buy-ins, and to show that they have a partnership, and require at the bottom of any ad like we do, that puts this ad sponsored by the City of Trinidad Tourism Board, is just as a full circle to keep that in mind.
Okay. I feel like any of these that we support is bringing heads and beds. The gravel grinder and the Fox Theater are two things that I could see that the future of Trinidad could be built on. Is that we look at those two things as to that's where we're going, and the support, any support that we give these is a buy-in for the tourism board, and I think that's the way I see it with the gravel grinder and the Fox Theater. But until we get our budget and maybe a new amount.
This conference will now be recorded.
A new amount for our grant forms is going to give us a better idea as to how we're going to fund the events that we have right here, and then closing the grant for 2020 until we get to 2021. So that's kind of the way I see that. And Scott, do you have anything on that?
Tom, I wanted to ask, am I clear that the state has declined co-funding or partially funding our Welcome Center?
There's a lot of things that the state is looking at for all the Welcome Centers, and Marty knows a little more than I do about that, so she could fill us in on that portion of your question.
The current status of the current status of state funding for Welcome Centers. There's 10 Welcome Centers within the state that are contractual or operating under a memorandum of understanding. Two of those, the two MOAs or MOUs, are Silverthorne and Trinidad. The other 8 Welcome Centers are funded by the state, and the state rescinded their funding for the last month of their fiscal year, so they are receiving no funding for the month of June. As far as future funding for the next fiscal year, they're currently waiting for the JBC, or the Joint Budget Committee, to finalize tourism funding. So they haven't decided what they're going to fund as far as the Colorado Tourism Office goes on the whole, for their marketing, for their Welcome Centers, for anything in tourism. But there was a significant cut. They're looking at probably a 40% budget cut in state tourism funding at this point, but that hasn't been finalized.
And Marty, as far as the Trinidad Welcome Center, they're not going to budget it at all, right?
At this point, probably not, no.
Okay.
The last meeting that we actually had with Kathy Ritter, who is the director of the Colorado Tourism Office, the conversation that we all had at that time was that the numbers here at the Trinidad Welcome Center were the lowest in the state, and the reason behind that we had deduced was that was the location, because we are not easily accessible from the highway versus all the other Welcome Centers. Our location is not where they feel it needs to be. They would like to see us relocate the Welcome Centers so that we are more easily accessible. But she wasn't forthcoming with any commitment to fund the Welcome Center for 2020-2021.
And what they would like the Welcome Center is on and off ramp, south and northbound.
Yes.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Scott?
Yes, it does, and maybe just overstate the obvious. Obviously the reason I brought that up was because approximately 1/3 of our budget goes to that Welcome Center. And I know prior to COVID, there was some talk about whether or not the state was going to come back forward with funding. Now then, with that as perspective and hearing the feedback that I just did, maybe we want to put together a subcommittee or a group that takes a look at how do we move forward with the state. In other words, if we dig on our heels and say, geez, we absolutely love our building, we love it being downtown, and they dig in their heels and say, you know what, we're not going to give you any funding because of you won't change the location, then, maybe we have let's call it an alternate or a secondary location, where they want it to be, and we look at a compromise so that we can get some relief on 30% of our budget, which we all know is crucial in the next 24 to 48 months.
Phil, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm speaking here. You know, the thing about it is that I don't, you know, with the stimulus package that came out, and Wally might have this, because the tourism, is that a 501 by itself? No, it's, okay. Well, keep your eyes open in the case that a fourth stimulus package comes out, as we've been hearing, that there might be some monies for governmental entities that maybe you guys can apply for if that does come around.
Well, and to add to Mr. Mayor, what we want to do is be proactive, because anytime these emergency funds or you know, reallocation of monies comes, what I've seen personally experienced with the SBA is there's a huge money grab to try and get that. So I just want to say that we probably want to be proactive as much as possible, be in the conversation, you know, have our ducks in a row, so to speak, so that we can jump on it when it does appear.
Marty, have you talked to any other welcome centers that are looking at that stimulus?
No, nobody's mentioned it.
I saw that pretty monster.
Wally, is that something that the Welcome Center could apply for, or are you aware of anything like that?
Not at this time. Like the mayor said, it might be something that becomes available in time, but it's not anything I've heard of happening yet.
Marty, and I don't know where this is going. I do know that the money that the county or the state got with this last round of stimulus, there's some money out there that I think they have not decided how they're going to distribute that. So I don't know exactly. So just keep your eyes open in case something becomes available from that.
Okay.
And Marty, I would like to add to that with the mayor's thought there, thank you, Mayor, is if there is money in the county, that the tourism board is more than willing to help market Monument Lake and other places if they open with additional funding.
Monument Lake is open for camping as of that I just heard this morning, or actually last night. So they are open for fishing, boating, and then as of last night they were open for camping. So Monument Lake is operating.
Thank you, Marty.
Well, that's great news. That's great news. Thanks, Marty.
And we also have the golf course operating too, don't we?
That I haven't heard.
But there was
And
I drove by.
Is the golf course open, Phil?
You know, I really don't know. I haven't checked, you know, with Mike on that. There's a possibility. I think that other golf courses have opened, so I don't know if this one has or not.
I think
yes, it is.
I think they had a tournament this weekend, partially here and partially in Mahana.
Yes, the golf course is open.
Okay, they had a tournament there on Saturday, and then down in Mahana on Sunday. Is that what I understand, Wally?
I do not know about the tournament.
Okay.
I did see some cars there yesterday about 5 o'clock at night. I kind of did a drive around. So I just like to add that I think that the best things that we can advertise when and if we have money available is all those outdoor assets that Trinidad has. The lake, the golf course, the frisbee course, the river walk, and I still want to bring that up again. If there's anything else that the tourism board can do to lead people to cleaning and using the river walk, I think that's one of our best assets for the city this summer.
I did see some fly fishermen in the Purgatory yesterday, and they were not from here. They were from out of town, so that was good to see them using that.
That's awesome.
And I did see that the Trinidad Lake State Park is also open.
off subject here, but with all those great things that we're advertising, I don't foresee the Welcome Center actually opening with the volunteers that we had. But these people are pretty precious for the years of devotion they have given to the city of Trinidad for advertising it. Marty, is there any way that you already keeping up with them and giving them ideas on things in maybe a monthly letter or something, so even in their own circles, if they're talking about it, they remember the things that they can do outside in our area?
We communicate with the volunteers weekly by phone call. We just call just to see how they're doing. If they need anything, we just stay in contact. Jeff and I make phone calls.
Thank you, Marty. So is that it on the grant application events? We're going to agree to hold off for another month until we get our budget reset. Is that right, Marty?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you want to see it back on the agenda then, on the work session agenda in June?
Yes. Yes, please.
Or do you want it on a regular meeting where you can actually vote on something?
I think we go back to a work session.
Okay.
The next item up for discussion would be the Highway 12 kiosks.
I've been communicating with Judy Walden, and she did follow up with me. The request from the board was whether or not we could utilize the signage that's going to be erected along Highway 12. She said that she talked to the Region 2 CDOT planner, and that they said that anytime that there's federal money used for anything like that, that no commercial information was allowed. But she did also add that a list of seasonal special events for the area might be considered. So we might be able to move forward with something like that. However, that being said, none of the kiosks are up yet. They're still waiting for delivery of the cedar posts, and that's been held up because of COVID again. They're using a general contractor out of Pueblo, and so those 3 kiosks, the one on Raton Pass at mile marker 1, the 6-panel kiosk at Trinidad State Park, and the 3-panel kiosk at North Lake are still not erected yet, and she will let me know when those go up, and then we can make our presentation as to any advertising for events. We can put something together, a draft or something, and get it approved by the CDOT planner, and then we can move forward with that. That is at no cost.
Thank you, Marty. You just keep us up to date on that?
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody have anything on that?
Nope.
Good. Next item up for discussion would be the trolley update. Marty, you kind of touched on it a little bit.
I did. I spoke to JR at M&M. We kind of went a little outside of our procedures. We were supposed to get 3 bids, but what happened was we had asked M&M Towing and Repair to take a look at it to see exactly what we needed to do so that we could get bids on it. And when he looked at it, he actually inflated the airbags on it and took it for a ride to see if the handicap ramp would still operate with those airbags inflated. And that's actually all it needed. So we didn't get bids for a repair, and I have not received the invoice from M&M right now. But I spoke to Cheryl on this, and she said that, we didn't follow procedure, but if it was under $1,000, then we would probably be okay. It was just kind of unusual circumstances. We had asked them to give us a a bid on the repairs that were needed so we could get the other bids, and he said, that's all it needed. So I'll move forward with that invoice as soon as I receive it. And it looks like it's operational. They took it for a drive. Rich got behind the wheel and said it works just fine. He took it to all the locations where it was bottoming out in the back, and it's not doing it anymore. So inflating those airbags was the remedy.
Well, Marty, they didn't have to buy any parts. It was just to air it up, and probably never come from the factory with that aired up. So we always had the problem with that the entire time until we did inflate them, right? So,
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And sorry, it was probably partially my fault that I asked them to inflate them to check the curbs too. So I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I took the heat for
I think it's very, very good news that we have a solution, and that's where we need to place our focus. Wonderful.
The next item up for discussion would be the crisis management and recovery. You want to touch on that, Marty?
I did send that document to everybody for review. Was anybody able to look at that?
Yes, I did see that.
Yes, I did also.
Okay, so that was a result of Craft 101. Craft 101 participants were asked to participate in a crisis management recovery plan, and I sent that entire packet to you for your review. Was there any questions or concerns? Anything that anybody had on that?
No questions here.
No question.
There were some good suggestions, so we might want to touch on that again. Take a look at it again and see if there's anything that you felt that we could take away from that on how to move forward in the tourism industry as a result of the COVID pandemic. What we need to do different. If there was anything any takeaways that you had from that.
Marty, was that information in the packet? Because I didn't review the packet. I didn't have time.
No, actually, it was a separate email, Mayor, and I will send that to you.
And the reason why I said is last night at the work session, we talked about recovery, and if there's anything that is in there that maybe we can utilize from the city, I'll read that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to move forward with once we get going. I think there was some good things in there, like Marty said. Anybody else have anything to say on that?
No, just
clear on it.
Yeah.
Next item up for discussion would be Facebook analytics.
At the last meeting that we had, Scott had requested Facebook analytics, and so there's pages and pages and pages of what our total numbers are, what our likes are, how many hits we're getting on our pages, on our posts, etc. I don't know if you reviewed this, but that's basically there so that for your information, what our Facebook is doing for us. We currently have our lifetime total of 3,864 followers, so that's kind of a good number. And then it takes daily page users, weekly page users, monthly or 28-day page users, and the numbers are actually pretty good. We have a weekly total reach of 3,000 people, which is another really good thing. An organic reach, and I don't know, Scott, do you know what an organic reach is?
No, I don't understand it. In fact, one of the suggestions that I was going to make is now that we have those analytics, whether we turn to Christy Rogers or somebody else to say, you know, what is an overview or a summary of our performance and what things can we do differently to increase our reach and improve our analytics.
Yeah, and it's all right. I'll just chime in for one.
Go ahead, Wally.
Okay, go ahead, Wally.
I was just gonna say I'm happy to look over this at any point. Sorry, I've been actually doing other things while I've been on this call, but I did hear you ask about organic reach. That means the people that you are reaching without putting any money into it. So advertising dollars that you're putting into Facebook ads, that'd be your non-organic reach, and organic is just people sharing it and the reach that it gets without you buying Facebook advertising.
And what's the amount on that? Is there a number on that organic reach, Marty?
Yes, it's something like 6,371 a month.
Well, that's a good bang for your buck, huh?
Yeah, considering it doesn't cost us anything.
And that's exactly right, maybe.
Yeah, and organic reach is definitely the best. And yeah, that's indicated by your ability to get people to share your post, the ability of your people to get people to comment or like your post. Whenever any of those things happen, it increases your organic reach and spreads your messaging better.
Thank you, Wally, for explaining that to us.
So just an FYI, during this, you'll look at the last 3 numbers in the daily organic impressions, and you'll see a high number on the third from the bottom of 5201. That was a day that I actually posted I made 3 different posts that day. So, and it actually shows particular week that I made about 7 different posts, and the numbers are really significantly higher. So the short answer to your question, Scott, was how can we do things better on Facebook? It's to me, it appears, the more often you post.
Yes.
It's just a simple answer. The more things you post on Facebook, the more often you post on Facebook, the more of a reach you're going to get. So that's the simple answer.
I agree with you on that.
Okay. Well, and somebody, as Wally has now volunteered, he may be a resident expert to suggest to us how best, so that we don't bore or overkill the market with suggestions or posts, and get to the stuff that's relevant. And this may be a perfect tool that we use, as I indicated previously, when things are starting to open up and small events are starting to happen. This may be their tie-in that we use this venue to let the community and the tourist market know that, hey, we are out here, and these are things we have going on.
Even the things that we do have going on now, like Cy mentioned, the state park, Monument Lake, the Riverwalk, hitting on them.
Do any of you get on our Facebook ever?
Yes.
Because those are exactly the posts that we're making.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well, my daughter tells me that Instagram is the new Facebook, and I'm outdated.
Yep, and TikTok is the new Instagram, and we're all outdated.
I never even heard of that one.
Yeah.
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 I live in a house with TikTok going on.
My grandfather used to have one of those clocks.
Yeah. Anything else on Facebook analytics?
Not from me. Very good. Thank you, Marty, for collecting that information. Very nice.
You're welcome. So, just so you know, the Chronicle has been released of their contract, so it's only up to me and Cy feel free to jump on there and make any posts you want, because you're still an administrator as well. And the rest of you, you know, whenever you see something that you say, hey, you know, Marty needs to get this on Facebook, or Si needs to get this on Facebook, please send it to me and I will jump on it right away.
Well, and so the photo contest will probably be certainly one of our next posts that we want to put on there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would say too that as restaurants begin their process of reopening dine-in services, that could be something we could pay attention to. I know I've already seen 3 or 4 different social media posts just this morning of restaurants that are either going to continue takeout or to go, or open and dine-in. So that could be another thing for us to start releasing on our website to help support.
I posted a new listing that was provided to me by the Chamber of Commerce last week. That was the most recent one I had. I think it was May 19th or 20th, of the newest listing. I'm not sure who's gathering that information. Is it you, Wally, that's gathering that and providing that to the chamber?
The restaurant information? I'm sorry, I was writing an email. No, Nisha has been gathering that information. I was helping her turn it into a changeable template, but she's kind of taken over it over the past several weeks.
Okay, so whenever she sends that to me, it's immediately posted on Facebook and our website. Our website was just updated, I believe it was on Friday. So staying up to date with those restaurant listings as they're provided to me.
Hey Tom, this is Phil. I'm going to have to sign off here because I've got another meeting, a webinar I've got to get on here shortly, but I just wanted to bring the group up to speed on what's happening with Fisher's Peak. We originally were planning a soft opening now in June, but that has been pushed back because of the current issue that we have. So we're playing it by ear. If we will still have a soft opening, maybe later July or August, we don't know at this point, but I'll keep you guys updated on that. But I just want to let you know in case there was any questions in your mind as to what's happening with that. So I've got to leave the meeting at this point in time. So if you have any questions, I'll answer them now before I leave.
Mayor,
I'd like to
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, I would just like to ask on this, would it be appropriate to get somebody to give the tourism board information about some of the logistical preparations that are being made for the opening of that park? I see some construction work being done on Lower Santa Fe Trail, some of the stuff out on I-25, just so that we have a perspective to understand how these changes and things that are coming down the pipeline are going to proactively help our tourism industry and make things beneficial. I just kind of feel out of the loop there as a member of the board, and I wonder if others have had that thought on that also.
Okay, currently, like I said, we just are working on our master plan process, and we do have some protocols in place. There are 5 different groups. I believe there's 4 or 5 different groups that are taking on different aspects of this master planning process. And what's going to happen, we do have a communications group that's in there, and I do have one of our city council people on that particular process. I will talk with her and see how they want to communicate that going forward.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just quick question. It was brought to my attention when I was discussing tourism funds with our Colorado Tourism Office partners that there was significant funding that may be pulled back from Fisher's Peak. I wondered if you knew what the status of that was, if they had come to a decision on funding yet.
No, there's not. Originally, we were supposed to get $4 million for the infrastructure process of that. And the JBC, like I said, I do know that they were working through the process, and they were going to eliminate it altogether. However, there's been some talk, and I think they're still trying to see if we did write a letter along with the Los Angeles County Commissioners. We requested that if they can give us any money, it'd be good, because this is all part of helping us to recover, because we feel, according to in our work session last night, that Fisher's Peak is going to be probably going to play a big part in our recovery moving forward. So we don't know if there's going to be any money at all for that infrastructure process at this point.
I would just like to add to that thanks, Mayor, for that update. That there was an article that came out in one of the Parks and Wildlife magazines. I thought I forwarded it on to everybody. It was really making me feel very much up. It stated that funding was going forward, and it was May 20th. The article was written on how the governor felt that was a big thing for the southern Colorado. So I think that's great. I also like to note that there were some archaeologists in town a few weeks ago that just came daily, that went up there because they were doing some sort of statistical information for the governor for that. And I only knew that because they came to the hotel and chatted for a moment. But I think that those are really great signs that we haven't been forgotten about from the Denver area. And if I find that article again, I'll resend it to you guys, okay?
You know, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. There's work going on up there right now as we speak in some regards. And matter of fact, I got a call yesterday from Melissa Rary, who is from CDR, I believe. She's part of the master planning process. They're going to be doing some work as far as communication across the state and on their website. And so there's a lot of work still being done, even if we don't have this money. I think CPW is going forward with some infrastructure on their own. I'm not sure what that is exactly at this point in time, but I do know there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. We'll see you guys. Good job. Gotta leave at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Marty, the last thing on for items discussion would be the website update. Did we touch on that?
Couple of things, yeah, we actually did. I just wanted to let everybody know that we made we added the restaurant listings to the website. We also are keeping the outdoor recreation page updated with Trinidad Lake State Park open for camping. I will add the Monument Lake camping today. So staying updated keeping that website updated regularly. But the one thing that I wanted to bring to your attention was when the website changed from discovertrinidad.org, which is currently on all of our visitor guides, it was rerouting to the visittrinidadcolorado.com website, and it's no longer doing that. So, that being said, all of the visitor guides that we're sending out has bad information on it. So people are going to discovertrinidad.org and they're getting nowhere. So our visitor guides are now sending people to a place where they can get no more information.
Can we get labels, Marty, and put labels over the site, and the label just would have like www.visit, Trinidadcolorado.com, and put that over that area?
We did talk about that before. We were going to go with Studio 6, and they were going to print us some labels, and they were real costly at the time. I guess what I could do is just print some off the printer, like a mailing type label. But just so you know, discovertrinidad.org is on every page. And I kid you not, it's on every page. So if I put it, I can put it on the front, I can put it on the back, of the visitor guide, and hopefully they'll just see those two locations and know that that's changed.
Do we still own that domain name?
The discovertrinidad.org?
Yeah.
No. No, that's why it's a dead end.
And if it was rerouting it previously, Marty, is there anything we can do technology-wise to have it reroute again, or it just stopped after 60 days or 90 days or something?
It's not going up when they, when we did no longer own the domain name. That expired.
If that domain name is still available, you can have multiple domains point to the same destination or the same website.
And if it's still
Absolutely.
available, you could get it back.
That's right. That's right.
Wally, do you
And
have?
that may be something we just want to do.
Yeah, we'll have to do if we can.
Wally, are you there?
Yeah, because if we
That's right,
could
maybe,
then we could send links to it on every page of our website and go back right in.
Absolutely. And maybe we can get Marty to just communicate with Wally about that. Wally will help us on that.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Thank you, Marty.
Perfect.
Okay, that was the last item up for discussion. The next meeting, I think, we should basically go over this budget before we have a new, the next meeting, don't you think, Marty?
Yes, I'll call Cheryl and set up a meeting.
Okay.
Is it, Tom, is it accurate at this point to say we don't really have a lot that needs to be voted on? Maybe we can just continue with some work sessions in progress, and then if we have something that needs to be voted on, we can get together collectively and do that on a, let's say, non-scheduled.
Well, if we do have a meeting, we can go over this budget and we could vote on it.
Okay, sure.
If you want that, and if there's any other items at that time, we could discuss them. If something may come up, I'm already.
Yeah, you have to maintain your regular meetings and your regular work sessions, but you can always have special meetings in between those.
Okay.
We'll go with that. So the next, what do you have then for the next board meeting is
June the 10th
June the 10th?
is a regular meeting.
Next meeting, June the 10th, 2020.
Or do you want to call a special meeting the first week in June so that we can review what we discussed with Cheryl and Mike?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, so you want to set a special meeting for maybe the 3rd?
The 3rd, yes.
Is that what?
I'm really sorry. I don't know. That's the first day we're going to open the restaurant, and I have to be there. So I won't be able to be at that meeting.
Is there another day that anybody would prefer?
Or if we could do it in the after like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, that would be better for me.
That's fine. I'd appreciate you to be there.
We could shoot for maybe like 3 or 4 in the afternoon on Wednesday. I could be there.
Well, that's going to be tough for me. Dinner hour's tough for me.
I understand that, and really honestly, my schedule, it's the restrictions that are put upon restaurants. I am required to be there and operating as basically as the manager and the person who's policing everybody, and that's going to cut me off. Mondays and Tuesdays are better for me if we can manage that, and I can do mornings. But yeah, next week's our first opening week, so I'm pretty much slammed.
How about the
Yeah,
8th?
So can we push it forward back towards the 10th or the 8th?
The 8th would be great. That's a Tuesday, right?
Perfect.
It's a Monday.
That's a Monday. That works for me.
June the 8th then?
It would, I mean, I would really need it in the afternoon, in the early afternoon, even if it was noon or 1 on Tuesdays, I still have meetings with Hilton. And on Mondays, I'm all tied up till about noon.
So can we do Monday at 1 o'clock?
Monday at 1 works for me.
Does that work for everybody?
I believe it will work for me.
It'll work for me.
Thanks, Debbie.
Okay, so we'll set a special meeting on June the 8th at 1 o'clock.
Okay, Marty, thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks,
We'll adjourn
everybody.
this meeting at 10:35.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.